Ever felt that twinge, that jealous pang when your sibling gets that last slice of cake?
Oh, yeah.
Now imagine that cake, it's like your inheritance, your entire future.
Ooh.
That's kind of what we're dealing with in Genesis chapter 37, the story of Joseph and his brothers.
You're not wrong. We're talking some serious sibling rivalry here. But this ancient tale, it offers these timeless insights into family dynamics, ambition, how our choices, they ripple through like generations.
We're diving deep, and I mean deep, into MCS/Genesis chapter 37 from my Christian space. And let me tell you, some fascinating interpretations about Joseph's genealogy. It's like the source is saying he's more than just one of Jacob's 12 sons.
Absolutely. It's the way his lineage is presented, singles him out like a pivotal figure. Lineage is everything in this world, right? Inheritance, divine blessing, the whole shebang. The text really emphasizes this legacy that Joseph carries.
Okay, so we know Joseph is important, but then there's that striped tunic his father, Jacob, gives him. It's practically like screaming, favorite child.
It's not just a pretty outfit, right? It's a symbol of leadership, a clear sign that Jacob favors Joseph. And what's interesting is this all happens when Joseph is 17. The text makes a point of telling us his age, that's unusual.
17. Is there something special about that number? It doesn't seem as obvious as, say, the number 12, for the 12 tribes of Israel.
You're right, not immediately apparent. But in this context, 17, it's associated with, get this, complete holiness. So you have this young man already marked for greatness by his lineage. Now he receives this symbol of authority, and all at an age associated with spiritual maturity.
Can you imagine being his brother?
Oh, I'd be fuming.
I'd be fuming. It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Right.
Not speaking of fuel, then there are those dreams.
Yes, the dreams. Joseph has two significant ones, and he doesn't keep them to himself either. In the first dream, bundles of wheat belonging to his brothers, they all bow down to his bundle. Then the second dream, it takes it up a notch. Now the sun, moon, and 11 stars are bowing down to him.
He hit the jackpot in like the cosmic lottery of destiny. You're telling me his brothers just brushed this off?
These aren't presented as just fantasies. The text frames them as prophetic, divinely inspired, like glimpses into a future where Joseph holds this position of power that even his own family has to recognize.
So we're talking some serious foreshadowing here, huh? But how do the brothers actually react to these not-so-subtle hints about Joseph's bright future?
Yeah, let's just say they weren't exactly planning a surprise party.
Right.
The text really doesn't sugarcoat it. They hated him, like really hated him. They couldn't even speak to him, without it becoming an argument. Jealousy, man, it does strange things to people, even family.
Family dinners must have been a blast in that household.
Yeah, and this is where things get a little dark. They actually plot to kill him.
Whoa, hold on. Really? Over a couple of dreams. I get sibling rivalry, but murder.
It really highlights how deep their resentment ran. And interestingly, the text makes a point of highlighting Reuben's inner conflict. He's the oldest. He seems to feel a sense of responsibility for Joseph. He doesn't defend the dreams, but he also doesn't want to see him dead. So his solution, throw Joseph in a cistern.
A cistern? Like a well. That doesn't sound much better.
It's definitely a cruel act, but there's a small detail here that often gets overlooked. The text specifically says the cistern was empty.
Okay, yeah, that does change things a bit. So it's more like isolating him, right? Removing him, not outright killing him.
Exactly. They're leaving room for, I don't know, possibility, a glimmer of conscience maybe, or fear of the consequences. But whatever it is, it shows their motives were complicated. Oh, and then there's this. After they throw Joseph in the cistern, they just sit down to eat.
Cold. Just cold, like nothing even happened.
It's this chilling detail that speaks volumes about their state of mind. But this is where fate, or maybe something more, intervenes, because out of nowhere, a caravan of Ishmaelites shows up, heading towards Egypt.
Egypt, now that is significant. Doesn't Egypt usually represent, the world in these biblical stories? It's not just a location, right?
Exactly. It represents the unknown, a place of testing, temptation. And for Joseph, it'll be like a crucible where he's forced to confront his fears. In a way, it's something we can all relate to, right? Being thrown into a situation that's unfamiliar, navigating a world that feels totally alien.
Makes you think about how those experiences, even if they're unwanted, they can shape us, force us to grow. But back to Joseph, stuck in that cistern. How does he end up in the hands of these Ishmaelites?
So it's Judah, another brother, who suggests selling Joseph to the caravan instead of killing him. They see an opportunity for profit. It's, well, kind of a disturbingly practical move in the middle of all this cruelty.
It makes you think, what's actually going through their minds? Are they feeling any kind of guilt, or is it just like a business deal at this point?
The text doesn't explicitly say. It's left open to our interpretation. It's important to remember that this is a very human story, full of flaws and contradictions and motivations that even the characters themselves may not fully understand.
So they just, like, sold their brother into slavery. Man, that's harsh. But didn't you say it was the Midianites who actually pulled Joseph out of the cistern?
You're right. You're right. The text actually specifies that it was the Midianite merchants who pulled him out and, did the whole business deal with the Ishmaelites. It's a small detail, but it adds another layer to the story, don't you think?
Another layer. How so?
Well, it reminds us that there are all these unseen forces, kind of working behind the scenes, shaping events. The brothers might have made the decision to sell Joseph, but they weren't totally in control.
Like a cosmic domino effect. One action leads to another, and pretty soon you've got consequences nobody could have predicted.
Exactly. And that unpredictable nature of life, I mean, that's a huge theme throughout Genesis, right? But we can't forget about poor Jacob here. What do they tell him happened?
Oh, man. How do you even begin to explain that one away?
Yeah, about your favorite son, the one you gave the special tunic to. Well, he went on a little trip to Egypt. It's even worse than that. They come up with this whole cover story, this calculated lie. They kill a goat, dip Joseph's tunic in the blood, and then show it to Jacob like it's evidence of a wild animal attack.
Brutal. Just piling on the guilt, huh? I can't believe they'd go to such lengths to, deceive their own father.
And the symbolism here is really striking, right? The sacrificed goat, the blood. It's like this echo of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement.
Oh, wow, you're right. The day of repentance, asking for forgiveness. It really makes you think about those brothers, right?
Yeah.
Sitting down to that meal after what they did, totally oblivious to the real weight of their actions.
It's a powerful reminder that true atonement, it's more than just rituals and sacrifices, It takes real remorse, a willingness to confront what you've done and try to make it right. That's something those brothers haven't even begun to do yet.
This whole story is giving me serious trust issues. But it also makes you think about how life is never straightforward, all these unexpected turns. So Joseph, he's on his way to Egypt, sold into slavery. His father thinks he's dead. It's hard to imagine things getting much worse. What happens next?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. See, despite the brothers' attempts to, bury Joseph, literally and figuratively, their actions actually end up setting the stage for those dreams to come true. He ends up in the house of Potiphar, this high-ranking official in Pharaoh's court. Talking about a turn of events.
Wow. So by trying to get rid of Joseph, they actually launched him into the first stage of his rise to power. That's quite the paradox.
It really is. And it just underscores this powerful message that you see throughout the Bible. Human choices, even the ones that come from a place of jealousy and deceit, they can be woven into something bigger. We can try to fight against what we think is our destiny, or try to go with it, but there's always this bigger picture unfolding.
It makes you wonder, would the brothers have done things differently if they knew what they were really setting in motion? If they could see that what they meant for evil would actually lead to Joseph becoming so powerful?
It's a question that still resonates with people thousands of years later. And maybe that's the point, right? It's an invitation for us to look at our own lives, our choices. Are we resisting what we don't understand? Are we open to the possibility that what seems like a setback, like a betrayal, even just being thrown into the unknown, that it could actually be a step toward a future we can't even imagine yet?
This has been quite a journey. It's amazing how much this ancient story still speaks to us today, Jealousy, betrayal, the crazy things life throws our way. And this idea that even our worst moments can be part of a much bigger story.
It reminds us that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves. Even in the darkest moments, there's potential for growth, for redemption, for blessings we never saw coming.
That wraps up our deep dive on Genesis chapter 37. It's a story that really sticks with you. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep those aha moments coming.